I just bought the book Bushcraft by Mors Kochanski, and I decided that instead of just putting it on the shelf, I would read it and try to practice the skills inside. In order to motivate myself to do so, I'm starting a little outdoors book club on my channel. The purpose of these videos is to share information, practice. I'm hoping to learn a lot in the process, and hopefully you will too. One other thing, I'm not an expert. If I was an expert, I wouldn't need to buy a book. You'll get to see what an average guy from Iowa does trying to practice these skills. You don't have to be a Superman to go outside. Welcome to episode 7. Today we're going to be talking about some of the adaptations of fire. Just to review, Mors Kochanski says that there's 4 stages to fire: ignition, establishment, adaptation, and maintenance and moderation. So we'll be covering 4 different ways that you can use and lay a fire to suit your needs. Now the thing about this is these are big fires, and if I were to try to make every single one of these, I would have to burn down most of the wood in the state of Iowa. So I'm going to do this with models, but I think you'll get the idea. At some point along the line during these episodes, I will get a chance to use each one of these fires, but to build 4 different fires for one video is a little bit silly. Our first fire lay is the parallel fire lay, and this is used worldwide as a very useful cooking and warming fire. Let me grab it. Oh.
Almost. You don't lose.
We had to camp on a sandbar tonight. So we're setting up camp, and we've got some soup and probably some rice cooking over the fire here. And basically, if your wind direction is this way, so the wind is blowing this way, you want to arrange your logs parallel to that. The logs themselves are an arm span, and for our Tuscan Raider here, that's his height. So roughly speaking, your arm span is your height. And what you want to do is use wrist thick wood piled about knee high, and you build a little fire on top here, and you let all of that burn down, and you'll have nice coals to cook with. Now, if you're going to cook over a fire and you need a smaller fire, then just shorten your logs or use less. Now, Tuscan Raiders are a lot like me, and they don't like monkey business. So he doesn't want to go to the trouble of sectioning all of that wood up into little, elbow to fingertip sized pieces and then chopping them up like a Boy Scout into thinner and thinner stuff. He's just going to build one little fire with the kindling on top here and then leave these long. The next fire we're going to talk about is the Crossfire lay, and I've found this to be pretty useful for when I don't even want to mess with chopping up all of the wood and all of that. I just want to throw something down and build a fire. So what you do is you lay down 3 or 4 logs like this, and then you take 3 or 4 more and lay them at kind of a cross angle to it, like so. And what will happen is when you start your fire, you build it on top of here, and the fire is only going to spread as far as, about here. Wherever the space between your logs is 10 centimeters or less is where it's going to burn to, and then it'll stop. To briefly explain what I've done so far, I've got a layer of bark, keeping that off the wet ground. 4 like wrist-sized pieces on the bottom and 4 on the top. And what I'd like to do is build a fire in this area out of smaller stuff and then have it fall down and kind of dry this out and ignite it and turn this into the coals. For some smaller stuff, I'll probably have to split up some of that. I also found some of these branches on the bottom of this evergreen will probably be dry. I'm going to check those. I've finished my basic setup here. I haven't lit it yet, obviously. I have a little, this was a 28 ounce tomato can, and this is just some wire that you'd hang photos with, and I had a bunch of that extra, so I just made up a little pot. I set this up before I build the fire so that I can get kind of an idea of where I want it hanging, and I can adjust it before there's a fire there. I like it so that it's nice and away, so I can grab it out here away from the fire and put it back down as I need to. And I like this 28-ounce size because I know that if I fill it about half full, that's 2 cups of water, and most of the recipes for like you know, Mountain House or whatever, a lot of the other things that I put together like this, a little noodle soup, call for 2 cups of water, so that's a real convenient size for one person. If you want to cook for a lot of people, just make that bigger and raise this up and make a bigger fire. But that will be enough for me to cook and boil 2 cups of water. Alright, that's done. Just need to let that burn down. I'm going to get my soup ready, and we'll do some cooking. Hopefully I got this to the right height. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll boil in just about no time. Doing a little simmering. One nice thing about doing your fire this way is if you want, you can lower that, and that nice little flexible wire there you know, stretches and it's not going to spill out our stuff. You can set it right on there if you're careful. And there it is. That was all of 5 minutes. Our fire is burning down a bit. I've let that sit a while, and you can see with the 4 long logs on the bottom, with the 4 kind of askant over the top, all of my tinder and stuff burned down, lit them on fire according to plan, and we've got a great bed of coals there. You could make a hobo dinner in that. You could bake in that. You could do basically any kind of cooking you wanted to do, and then after you burn through the center, then you can move the logs in. The next kind of a fire is a star fire. Well, there's Eli and his fire. How'd it go?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
The little explosion you saw was one piece of, you know, peanut butter and jelly cotton, and it just basically exploded like that.
What's peanut butter and jelly cotton?
Well, petroleum jelly.
Yeah.
PB&J cotton.
Yeah. Okay.
And got a keyhole fire built here that Kyle built, and basically that little flat area down there is where we're going to drag the coals down for cooking, and have the basic fire right here for warmth. And between these 2 rocks around us, we've got a really good spot.
Now, how much did the temperature go up after we started that fire, sitting here in our little space?
I've had to move away from it a couple times.
Right.
I'm
And
almost uncomfortable right here.
and in this little thing, because it's reflecting off the walls and trapping all that heat. If you walk, we'll do a temperature measurement after we've had a fire for a while. We'll walk outside, take a temperature measurement, and come back in here. But I guarantee that it is so much warmer in here.
Up on the wall too.
Yeah, I'll zoom in on it. Before we started the fire, what was it in here like?
It was 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
And now it's like 90 right here sitting by.
Yeah, it's plenty warm, and what we did is, one of the reasons we chose this is because of the possibility of radiated heat. But the other is, like, it's flat, and we'll lay our bedrolls out here, and you know, we won't even have to do all that much to the fire. Just have some coals going, and it'll stay toasty warm in here.
It's getting colder. When we started this about 20 minutes ago, it dropped down to 50 degrees. This is already up to 60.
In our little cave here. So here's the reason I made that as a keyhole. I've got some ramen noodle soup, and how to make that and everything is on my YouTube page. And then you scoop the coals down from the open part down to there, and you can keep a fire going a distance away from your pot and keep adding coals as you need it. Just for me, it's easier to maintain my coal bed and everything that way, and I'm not fighting sticks and fire and all of that while I'm trying to cook over some coals. So there's a little bit of backstory to this fire, isn't there? Like,
yeah, there is. We were really nervous coming in because we're just talking to one of the guys at the state park, and he was giving us a couple ideas where to go. But he gave us one really important warning, and that's that the wood up here is really hard, and it doesn't burn. It's non-burnable wood, so we decided to go ahead and just start on fire, and it's been great.
And then, what was it he wanted to sell us to pack up here? Was it charcoal?
Yeah, we'd probably need to bring a bag of charcoal up here if we wanted to cook anything, because the chances are real slim of getting anything to burn.
Yeah, and then the other problem would be the recent precipitation up here, right?
It rained here 4 days ago real hard, so that's why the scenery is real green, but not a problem.
And this is also useful for when you have the long pieces and you don't want to go to the trouble of cutting it. I tend to be pretty lazy, and I tend to use this one a lot. And what you do is you build a little fire here. It's going to stay confined basically to the center, and then as you burn through the logs, then you just go around and push the logs in. Another time this fire is useful is if you have an enclosure like a teepee, and you have a few dudes that want to sleep but they don't want to like cuddle up next to each other. What you do is you have your fire here, and then you work the logs in the middle. The final type of fire that we're going to talk about is a wall-backed fire lay. And what the Tuscan Raider has done here is he's taken a long log, a green log, and kind of hewed the ends so that each one is flat before he sectioned it. Then he sectioned it, and then he built a wall that's about knee-high on him. See, that's more or less knee-high. And he's got a prop log here that helps keep that standing up. Now what he's done is he's taken and put down a bed of evergreens and things like that, because you never want to sleep directly on the ground. And he now has a little parallel fire built there right next to the wall, and that will reflect heat back on him, and it'll help maintain that fire a little better. The other thing that's nice about that is that that fire face will, or that wall face will catch on fire over the night, and it'll really radiate some heat back, and our Tuscan Raider will be real warm. This is a great setup if you've got a lean-to setup over here. If you don't have a lean-to, don't have time to build it, or have a little tarp up there, there's another way. You can make your wood pile on the other side of you. Now, for this type of thing, you want to make sure that the wind is blowing this way, parallel, otherwise you'll have problems with smoke. But you can have 15 degrees of variance either way without much issues. So that's the adaptations section of the book. Next we're going to go on to maintenance and moderation.